Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers for a World in Crisis. Today, we look into self-esteem and vanity. There are so many aspects of the human condition that require our attention. A sincere look into ourselves so that we may be able to offer our difficulties to the divine and progress on our individual paths to self-realization and union with the divine. All the answers, as always, are from the writings of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. The Mother. But it's very, very instructive. I mean, it's not anything new to me, but it's the wholly clear, precise, evident picture that it's man who creates all his difficulties. Things would be simple and easy if there weren't all these ego reactions, reactions of ambition, reactions of self-esteem, not to speak of deceit. When that comes, gesture underhand. Yes, these three things: ambition, with the need to show off, to dominate; self-esteem or vanity, being hurt when you aren't appreciated at your true value, then you lose your temper, you quarrel, there's grating and friction. And last, the thirst for money, greed, the desire to possess, cupidity. You want to make the most of the occasion. I want to profit. I want to profit. With these three things, everything is muddled. Question. I want to overcome a difficulty. It is that when I perceive faults or weaknesses in myself, something tries to justify them or to prevent me from attending to them. Mother, this something is the insincerity of an ignorant self-esteem, which has not yet understood that it is nobler and loftier to recognize one's faults in order to correct them than to conceal them in the hope that they will not be noticed. Yesterday, I was asked the question. I was asked whether abuse, the feeling of being abused, and what in English is called self-respect, which is somewhat akin to self-esteem, have a place in the sadhana. Naturally, they don't. That goes without saying. But I saw the movement. It was extremely clear. I saw that without ego, when the ego isn't there, there cannot be that sort of ruffling in the being. Question. How can one get rid of one's vanity and selfishness? Mother, by a complete consecration to the divine and a loving surrender to the divine's will. Blessings. 15 May 1944. Two definitions given by Mother. Vanity, one of the most frequent forms of falsehood. Vanity is the most serious obstacle to true greatness. Somewhere, Sri Aurobindo has said that when you are in touch with the divine consciousness, it gives you all of a sudden the sense to what extent the world is ridiculous in its fatuity, the fatuity of men. But even I have had contacts with animals. Even with the animals, that has begun. Vanity, 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 vanity. I knew a wit who said, "The reign of the divine is not going to come so soon. For what then would remain of the poor philanthropists? If mankind had no suffering, philanthropists would be left without occupation." It is difficult to get out of that. Yet it is a fact that the world will never come out of the condition in which it is now unless it gives itself to the divine. All the virtues, you may extol them. They increase your self-satisfaction, therefore your ego. They do not help you in becoming truly conscious of the divine. It is the large-hearted, wise people of the world who are the most difficult to convert. They are quite satisfied with their life. A poor man who has committed all kinds of blunders in his life regrets immediately and says, "I am nothing. I can do nothing. Do with me whatever you want." That person is more in the right and much nearer to the divine than one who is wise and full of his wisdom and of vanity. He sees himself as he is. Spiritual vanity is much more serious than physical vanity. And the last consolation, for those who are truly sincere, truly good-willed, all these fits can be changed into a means for progress. Each time you have an attack of this kind, a sort of storm, you can change the crisis into a new progress, into one more step towards the goal. If precisely you have the necessary sincerity to look straight in the face within you at the cause of the fit, the wrong you have done, the wrong you have thought, the wrong you have felt, if you see the weakness, the violence, or the vanity, parentheses, for I forgot to tell you that the vital is much more full of vanity than the mind, end parentheses. If you look at all that full in the face, and if you recognize honestly and sincerely that what has happened is due to your fault, then you are able to put a red-hot iron, as it were, on the affected spot. You can purify the weakness and turn it into a new consciousness. And you find, after the storm, that you have grown a little more. You have truly made a progress. Sri Aurobindo. The egocentric man feels and takes things as they affect him. Does this please me or displease? Give me gladness or pain? Flatter my pride, vanity, ambition, or hurt it? Satisfy my desires or thwart them, etc. The unegoistic man does not look at things like that. He looks to see what things are in themselves and would be if he were not there. What is their meaning? How they fit into the scheme of things? Or else he feels calm and equal, refers everything to the divine, or if he is a man of action, how they will serve the work that has to be done, or the life of the world, or the cause he serves, etc., etc. There can be many points of view which are not egocentric. All who cleave to the path steadfastly can be sure of their spiritual destiny. If anyone fails to reach it, it can only be for one of the two reasons: either because they leave the path, or because for some lure of ambition, vanity, desire, etc., they go astray from the sincere dependence on the divine. Whatever the difficulties of the nature, however long and painful the process of dealing with them, they cannot stand to the end against the truth. If there is, or if there comes in these parts, the true spirit, attitude, and endeavor. But if a sadhak continues out of self-esteem and self-will, or out of tamasic inertia, to shut his eyes or harden his heart against the light, so long as he does that, no one can help him. The consent of all the being is necessary for the divine change, and it is the completeness and fullness of the consent that constitutes the integral surrender. But the consent of the lower vital must not be only a mental profession or a passing emotional adhesion. It must translate itself into an abiding attitude and a persistent and consistent action. It is only this habit of the nature, self-worrying and harping on the sense of deficiency, that prevents you from being quiet. If you threw that out, it would be easy to be quiet. Humility is needful, but constant self-depreciation does not help. Excessive self-esteem and self-depreciation are both wrong attitudes. To recognize any defects without exaggerating them is useful, but once recognized, it is no good dwelling on them always. You must have the confidence that the divine force can change everything, and you must let the force work.